Hello students. Today in this video I am going to take you through the first unit of the course KNC 101, the audit course that has been started by AKTU for BTech first year students on soft skills. The first unit is basic communication skills. So, what do you mean or what do you understand by the word communication? The word communication has been derived from a Latin root word which we can take either to be communis or communicare. It means common and shared. So that is the meaning of communication. That is how we share ideas, interchange opinions, and we build relationships based on communication. So let's understand the process of communication skills a little bit more. How does it start? The process of communication entails of 6 major steps. The first one is ideation. The sender gets an idea that yes, what sort of point would I like to convey to someone else? So that is ideation. Then encoding. Encoding means putting it into a particular language. We can choose Hindi, English, sign language, or XYZ, any language, and that is the encoding part. Then happens transmission of the message by breaking through all the barriers of communication. We can choose different modes of this transmission. It can be email, it can be instant messaging, it can be a video like I am doing just now, or it can be face to face. So these are your transmission modes. Then this through this transmission mode, it gets transferred to the receiver. Over here, the receiver decodes and interprets. So, is that decoding happening at the same level as the encoding happened? Is the interpretation of the receiver same as what the sender sent? That is where the importance of the feedback loop comes in. So, if the receiver has interpreted the message correctly sent by the sender, the feedback or the response would be in accordance. But if the interpretation has been wrong, then that feedback would be in the negative, or rather, it will not agree with what the sender said. So, that is the process of communication. Now, coming to the types of communication, we have formal and informal communication. Formal means which we use in for official purposes. At your workplace, in the offices, so that is your formal communication. And then we have informal communication. When we talk with our friends, our colleagues, in an informal party, casual gathering, that is an informal communication. Both formal and informal communication can happen in two ways: verbal as well as non-verbal. Verbal communication, like I am speaking. So, verbal communication involves 4 basic skills. These are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Now, out of these 4 skills, listening and reading, they are called passive skills or receptive skills. We learn from this, we gather information from this. And reading and speaking and writing. Speaking and writing are active skills, or they are our productive skills. So active and productive. Why? Because we involve actively while speaking or actively when we write something. So that is the basis of LSRW, or the verbal communication. Next is the most important aspect of communication is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, scientifically speaking, it is called kinesics, body language. It has got many different parts to it. The first one is, of course, our facial expressions and eye contact. Eye contact is also known as oculesics. So, the better eye contact that we have as a receiver or sender, the better our message will be understood. Facial expressions, of course, there are six basic facial expressions which are considered to be universally found in all cultures, all religions, caste, creed, and color people. But there are lots of different differentiations and variations of those six basic facial expressions. Then, nonverbal communication also comprises of paralinguistics. Paralinguistics means the vocal cues, the voice intonation, the voice volume and pitch, the modulation of your voice when you have to say something of importance, intonation. All this comprises of your paralinguistic features. Then we have chronemics. How much importance do we attach to our time? So, people from Western areas or Western regions, they are extremely punctual. But we Indians have a tendency of taking time a little lightly, and we have got that stretchable sense of time. Then we have got haptics, that is the sense of touch, that recognition of the good touch and the bad touch, very essential. And then patting on the back, receiving a very appreciative pat on the back is a totally different feeling which takes you on a high. Then, of course, we have the another feature which is called proxemics. Proxemics is the study of proximity or space. How much space do we give to people when we are speaking with them? For example, when we are with our family members, so that is our intimate zone. When we are with our friends and our peers, equals, we are in the social zone. Then, when we are in the other area, that means a distant area, that means we will be in the public zone. So there are three different zones to proxemics. Then we come to the levels of communication. Levels of communication, what do you understand by that? There are four basic levels of communication. One is intrapersonal. Intrapersonal means we are communicating within ourselves. We are talking to ourselves. An example would be auto suggestion or pep talk, that yes, I can do it. You are faced with a challenge and you start building up that feeling in you. Yes, I can do it. That is intrapersonal communication. Then we have interpersonal communication. When we talk to one other person face to face or telephonically or maybe in a party or anywhere. So that is interpersonal communication. Then we have group communication. Group communication is when we are talking to a small group of, say, 5 to 6 people, not exceeding that. Then the next stage is mass communication. When we are sending across our message or communicating with lots of people, numerous people, maybe through social media, maybe through video conferencing, maybe through your instant messaging services, newspapers, print media, etc. etc. So, another level of communication which has been recognized is extra-personal communication. Extra-personal means when we are talking with our pets. That's an example. We've got a dog which comes to us as soon as we enter our home. So we try to play with it. We try to make some noises from our mouth with it. That is extra-personal communication. Then levels of communication also means informal communication, something else. That means vertical communication. Vertical communication can happen in two ways. It can be upward or downward. So upward communication means a junior is talking to a senior, and a downward communication would mean a senior is talking to a junior. Then we have horizontal communication. Horizontal communication would mean that people of the same level are talking with each other. So that is horizontal communication. Then there is diagonal communication. Diagonal communication means that a junior of one department is talking with a senior of another department. So they are unrelated, but they are talking with each other. That's a diagonal communication, or it can happen in the vice versa way as well. The senior of one department may be talking to a junior of another department. That is called diagonal communication. Next follows the approaches to communication. We have got five basic approaches to communication that I would like to discuss with you. One is reciprocity. Reciprocity means that there is a reply, there is a response to every communication that we make. It cannot happen that we have made some sort of communication and we don't get a response. So that is reciprocity. Then we have objectivity of communication. Objectivity of communication means that there is no sort of bias. What you are telling, informing, or saying is based on facts and figures. It does not have any opinions in it. So that is objectivity in communication. Then we have utility. What is the purpose of the communication that you are doing? Is it to inform? Is it to entertain? Is it to persuade? Is it to build relations? So that utility, what is the purpose of that communication? Then we have rationality, the cause and effect, the logic. Are we communicating in a logical way? Are we able to get our message across? That is the rationality. And then, of course, universality of communication. There is a very famous quotation which has been used for communication, that you can't communicate. Even if you are sitting silent and observing someone, or you are not observing someone, you are just sitting silently, that is also communication. So communication happens in all areas, domains, and it is universally present. Then, why do we speak? Of course, speaking skills. Speaking skills are extremely necessary because they form the basis of presenting and expressing ourselves in front of others. And until and unless we can express ourselves well in front of others, we will not be accepted, or we will not be able to make our place amongst them. So, speaking, why? Of course, I have already informed you that why do we communicate? Same thing applies to speaking as well. Inform, persuade, entertain, or build relations. Now, what are the nuances of delivery? If we are giving a public speech or we are speaking on a public platform, it again involves the paralinguistic features as discussed in non-verbal communication. So, the paralinguistic features again, the pitch, the loudness, the volume, our intonation. This is what is meant by our vocal cues or paralinguistic features. If I talk about the various types of speeches, then we have impromptu, where we are not prepared, we are just sent to the stage and we need to talk on a particular topic. Then we have a scripted speech, wherein we are well prepared, we have got all the pointers in front of us and we can take the help of those points. So it's a manuscript form or a scripted form of speech. So these are the two major types. Then finally, listening. A Okay, listening. Listening involves two different types. We have got active listening, wherein we are making notes, either mental notes or maybe written notes. And when we make those notes, we take out the important points of the speaker. So that is active listening. We ask questions. We get curious about more things attached to that particular topic. So that is active listening. And then we have passive listening, or we can also call it hearing. We just let the sounds go into our ears. We don't respond, we don't make any notes, we just hear. So that is the difference between hearing and listening as well. Then we have, of course, the last and the most important topic of this unit, that is thinking positive. Now, thoughts, we need to realize this, that in a 1 day period, every human being has the capacity of thinking 60,000 different thoughts. 60,000 different thoughts. Just imagine. So, how many of them are positive? That is dependent on the circle we keep, the people we interact with. The more positive people that we interact with, the more positive our thinking will be. So that is the best strategy to develop positive mental attitude or positive thinking in every individual. Please keep a check on the friends that you keep and try to avoid negative people. I hope the message of this particular unit is clear to you. We will be sharing the details through the presentations and lecture notes. Thank you, students.